grade that it's just about getting it done. So we can learn something a little bit about you guys. And I have to tell you, the thing that's kind of funny to me, I haven't had a freshman class in 14-ish years. So I still, even just looking out at you, I feel like my sister teaches 4th grade. So I was telling her yesterday, I'm like, I think I know what your day is. What do you mean? I think it's going to go down. And they're still just middle school enough that you can see, and you'll get at least a lot more sympathy. Once you start looking like a big grizzled high schooler, the tears stop working. You guys now want to have, like, I understand, do they have cupcake parties over at Fry? So is that a thing? Okay. Good. I don't know. They used to have, and they'd be like, oh, somebody brought in, we inevitably get calls and they, you don't understand, my child did so well over last year, and I don't understand. I'm like, well, how did they do in their work? And then you go and you pull up the grade sheet, and it'll be like, they did a great job on all, like, extra credit, or they do, like, a worksheet or something at the end, or, what was the other one? Oh, it was right on the grade sheet. Cupcake Party 5 and Cupcake Party 6 on the grade sheet on their 3rd quarter, which leads you to believe, how many cupcake parties have they gotten credit for having so far? 6, yeah. Which, I'm going to ruin it. Should bringing in cupcakes for a party be something that gets you a grade in math class? You want your doctor to pass his medical college because he brought in cupcakes to his autopsy class or to his preventative disease class? Dave's a real, bad student, but man, he makes some chocolate chip cookies that are so good. I'd be a little nervous if that was my doctor. Now, so have out on your desk, this looks good so far. We need this guy up and this guy here. This is our notes for the unit. This right here is going to be what we use to help us get through it. Now, you guys got to tell me, we did PCF, you did fast fashion. I don't think you did guess and check. We did different, oh, you did, we got through grouping also?
Yeah, Mama.
Except guess and check? Okay, so here's what we're going to go through and do then. So last time we met, you guys got all the way out to something, we got over to this one. Now, we'll caution you and tell you this now. The board that we have, this is more of an adult problem issue, but the computer for some reason is not working anymore. So, you probably saw it yesterday. When you write, it randomly decides to do something different than what you're doing. And apparently they're very busy because we are not on their radar yet. But, so I have another thing over here that I'm going to try not to go through and use, but it actually connects. But the problem is you're writing on a board, so I have to look up, and the writing is awkward. And plus, no offense, if you're in a class, well, put it this way: how excited would you be? How much action would you be anticipating if you knew that as the teacher of the class, I needed to sit here and do the notes like this while I was talking to you? Would that be something that's kind of a good class or kind of a horrible one? Yeah, well, okay. So I'll tell you this. I cannot stand when people stand in one spot and talk, especially not sort of at you or even mainly in your direction. I'm sorry if that sort of happened before. In college, when you go on, if you see classes like that, in all honesty, leave. Get yourself somebody who is going to be up there and actually talk to you. Unless you learn from somebody who sits and is very stagnant and calm. Some people like that, but most people don't. And scores tend to dictate that. Actually, the single most important factor in whether you do well is having somebody who knows how to lecture well. That actually brings you up an average of 2.6 grades during the time that you are with that person. So understand, you should want somebody, and even for my job, I don't want to sit all day. But I apologize if I get stuck over there and you hear a voice coming from behind the screen. That's what it is. It's not personal. I'm not trying to get away from you. And understand I might even have a little bit of frustration and vocalize it when the writing doesn't look right and I'm trying to draw things on another screen or whatever. We left off though, and you told us, now this is going to be different than the one you had, and we'll do it this way for a reason. Let's say I had this, 3 squared, we'll do and this would be, think this. Now, if I gave you a question like that to go factor, it's not on your list. This is going to be sort of making sure we understand the example before we write it down. As it stands right now, if you're asked to factor that, you're looking for what expressions can I multiply together to get this big one at the end. And as you do it out, we should be able to connect. We've got 2 sets of parentheses here. And this is sort of backtracking to what gives you this great big giant trinomial. The values that you have in these beginning positions here, these values are going to be the ones that multiply to give you that term, that one in the beginning. Now, you're lucky in this example. You want to see a 3 there. You want to see a 5 there. Numbers you wouldn't want to see there, 6. You don't want to see a 4. You don't want to see a 10 or a 12 would be a disaster. You'd rather see 97x squared than 12x squared. Why are 3x squared 97? Why are those good values to have in the beginning? Well, what goes in those yellow spots? We should know this right away. We got 2.
It's got to be a 3x and just an x.
There you go. That is prime. 3 is a prime number. So your job all of a sudden went from listing out all these possible ways to get the first value to, there's only one way I can get the first value. That has to give me a 3x here and an x here. Now the second part of it, you need to look at the end of it. You're going to have values that go here and here to make your binomials. Those numbers have to multiply to give you a positive 5. And again, you should be glad to see a number like 5 at the end. You should dread seeing a number like 4. You'd like to see a 3, but you wouldn't want to see a 6. 7 is great. 8 is horrible. Why is 5 a good number to have at the end? Well, that's prime as well. It has only 1 in itself as factors. However, hands up please if you can tell me the 2 possible pairs, or we'll put it this way, who can tell me one of the 2 possible pairs that could go in that green position? There's 2 possible ways that we could plug in, or 2 different numbers, sets of numbers, we could plug in that green spot. What could go in that green spot to give us the 5 that we're looking for? We've got 1, 2.
Positive 5 and positive 1.
That's one way. It could be a positive 5 in there and a positive 1, or what other choice or other possibilities do we have to get a plus 5 at the end? There you go. Now, your job is, we know we could have a plus 5 here, or we could also have a plus 1. You could have a negative 5 and a negative 1. Now, what's our problem going to be? We don't know which one goes where. Looking at the question, I've probably got a good idea which ones I want to start with. Which pair out of those 2 listed below would you want to make your first guesses with? Which ones would be smart guesses and why? We've got 1 you can see. 2, take a look at what's there. Look at the expression as a whole. We're looking to get at the end. We're going to use a plus 5 plus 1 or plus 1, or sorry, the minus 5 and minus 1. Tell me which guess you're going to try.
Plus 5 plus 1.
Why?
Starting positive in the first expression.
Look up at the original. It's positive 5 at the end, and you got a positive 8 there. So let's try the positives first. So you take a guess. Now you're going to make a choice. We've got a plus 5 here. Do you want that to go in this one? First one here or second? Okay. That means this one would have to go here. And then you try to see if it works. And if it doesn't, you erase it and try another arrangement. Now, as I'm doing this, let's see. Will this give me the original? First terms give you? Outside terms give you 3x. The inside terms here give you 5x. And of course, at the end, hopefully you get a 5. That's what we were working towards. Why was that a really, really good guess? Yeah, does it work? Yeah. So that's it. And by the way, is it possible if I put the 5 and the 1 in different spots that it wouldn't work? Yeah. And guess what you would do? Erase it and try again. That's why it's so good to have a 3 in front. Why would it be awkward if there was a, let's put it this way, why would it be awkward if it was 10x squared here? Hands up, please, if you can tell me. Why would this be awkward to do if there was a 10x squared here? Not 1, 2, 3. What's awkward about a 10? We're not going to get from the 3. How could you, what could you put in those yellow spots if it was 10x squared? 2x and 5x, or 1x and 10x. And all of a sudden you may have the right green guesses, but the yellow guesses might be wrong. And the only way you check is to go through and try and get it wrong. This, did they do this with you before Inspire? No. Something like it? I'm telling you now, the only way you get good at it is to go through and get it wrong, and to make incorrect guesses. You'll see, like in our example, we had somebody guess, I probably want to use the positives more than the negatives. Why do you want the positives? Well, I'm looking to get a +8. It's probably going to get really tough to get a +8 from this if the last terms are both negative. Now, let's take a look at the one we've got. Our example here, you've got 2x squared minus 5x, or sorry, minus 5n minus 3. Give out 2 parentheses. And let's see what this is going to break down to. You're lucky. What's going in the first spot of both of our parentheses? Hands up, please, if you can tell me how each of our binomial factors is going to begin. Go ahead. 2m. There you go. One gets a 2m in front, and one gets an m. Now, we've got values at the end, and it's going to be awkward for us to get those values at the end. Hands up, please, if you can tell me what could be behind those 2 remaining squares. I don't need to know what it actually is. I'm just saying what's possible behind it. Give me one pair. -3 and 1 could go there. What else could we have?
+3 and -1.
There you go. There's only 2, though. Go in, take a guess, see if you can get it to go through and work out. I'll wait for 6 of us with our hands up that can tell us what 2 binomials this will factor down into. Hands up, please, when you can tell me what 2 binomials this will become. You can check, plug them in. If it doesn't work, hey, we got erasers. I got extra if you need. We got 1 so far. 2. 3, 4, 5. As you're doing these, understand, you may get something really close. It doesn't mean you need to throw it out then. It's possible that when you're doing this, you got it to maybe be a +5, at which point you don't, you're really close. You might need to just change something small instead of something big. How many of us have this now? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Go ahead. What would you like to say?
+1 and -3.
There we go. If I do this out, first terms give me 2m squared. What do I get when I do the outside? Okay, what you get?
-6.
-6m. And what do the insides give you? A +1, right?
Yeah.
Does that work to give you the -5? You bet. You bet. Right? Now, And I think I told you that last one at the bottom, don't worry about until next year. When we have each other again, we'll be filling this out first day again. All right, now let's take that and set it over to the side. And go over, please, to your note packets. Let me just make sure I have yours. All right, so we'll actually do this in the beginning. So slide over, please. And it's, I want to say page 55. It's at the end of your pack. No, not 55. There we go. So go over to, it resets to page number 1. At the end, it looks like this. Okay. You have it with you? Now, slide over, and I think for some reason the page numbers, oh, because I threw it in again. The page numbers reset after 55 and then 56, it says page 1 again. Should look like this. Towards the end, it says this up at the top. Now, as we're going through and doing this out, we listed out all the different types of factoring that you can go through and have. We've got a lot that we can go through and do. How about we'll start off, do out example 1 right now. Go through, do out just the 3 that are there in example 1. Hands up if you can help us out for A. And tell me what that's going to give us. What do you want to say?
9 parentheses Z minus 2.
Now, when you're doing this, understand when we need parentheses, and I get it's going to be a struggle, especially in the beginning. If you need to say parentheses, you can say the quantity of, and that works for all math now that you're at an upper level. So if you're going through and saying the quantity of this, and you hear someone say that, that means parentheses. And if you're trying to say it to somebody, you've got to say those parentheses around it, so quantity of. Here's the reason. If somebody were to tell you x minus 8 times the quantity of x plus 8, what they told you is this. X minus 8 times the quantity of x plus 8. What's getting distributed to that binomial? Just the negative 8. Does the x go out to it also? No. If we said the quantity of, then you would need to FOIL it. In the beginning, and trust me, we've got so much to go through and learn this year. We'll get you saying the right words, the right notation, etc. But make sure when you're saying it, if you hear me say it, that's why. It's okay if you don't get it, especially in the beginning. Maybe by halfway through the year we'll be there. How about for B? Hands up, please, if you can tell me what B would factor down into. Go ahead. And you said 8m plus 5p? Perfect. Now, this is the one that's the most fascinating. Because when they do factoring with you, at least it's my impression, that when they do factoring with you at the middle school, every single example that you get factors. That's not how it works in real life. Like, just because it exists doesn't mean you can go through and break it down. Is there anything in C that you can take out from both sides? No. The biggest thing that we can take out is A, 1. Anything besides 1 doesn't really count as a GCF. So we're stuck. There's no more. This is it. You're all done. How about give D a try? go down to 2D and let's see if we can get that one done. Hands up, please, when you've got a clue as to what we would start off with for D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. Our GCF is going to be 6m squared n. Now, when I take that out, I've got to go to each of these and factor it out. And by the way, if you only have 2 terms in parentheses, automatically that's wrong. How many do we need in the parentheses? 3. That means you're giving me a trinomial. Who can tell me what our trinomial is going to be going across? Go ahead.
4m
Okay.
minus 3 plus n squared n squared.
Questions on that? All right. Some of these. Now, some of these, again, don't freak out if they come across as being a little bit challenging. They're supposed to be. We're not in JV. Look at question. I'll tell you this. Yeah. Look at question A. First thing we always need to look for is a GCF. Is there a GCF in A? Hands up if you see it. Tell me something. If you're raising your hand, you're saying, this quantity I can undistribute from both sides of this great big giant awkward 4-part binomial. I can undistribute something from both parts of this. What would we go through? Let's divide out or factor out or undistribute out the x minus 5. Now watch what happens as we do this. You've got an x minus 5 on the outside now. What's left after you take out or undistribute the x minus 5? Hands up when you can tell me that. This is the part where it's a little bit, probably more than you did last year, but it's not math you can't do. What's left when you divide out or pull out or undistribute out an x minus 5? We've got 1, 2 of us. What would we have left? I don't need you to simplify or anything. What would we have left? We got 1, 2, 3, 7, 8. What do you want to say?
3x plus 13.
Not yet. Before you did that, what did you have before that?
X plus 6.
So list out an x plus 6 plus 2x plus 5. Now, once we get to this point, you're still not done. There's more simplification. Inside the parentheses, we have, and keep out front the x minus 5 from before, but now you have 3 x's and plus 11. It told you when you took that out, you said, all right, I've got x plus 6, and then x, 2x plus 5. All right, I've got like terms, I can add those together. Questions on that? How about this then? I think you can do out B. Give B a try. I think B might even be a little bit easier. Try out, please, 3B, the one directly underneath what we just did. as we're doing out B, who thinks they can see what this would become? Got 1, 2, 3, 4. Would you like to try?
M plus N
That quantity squared, you're right. And what is that? The m plus n being squared, what would you call that? Yeah, that's the GCF. And what's left when you take it out? Quantity, you're right. Perfect. Right? What would happen if I multiplied those together? What would I get out? Whatever's on the left. They're equal to each other. They mean the same thing. The same way 100 pennies equals $1. Now, try to see some other ones. We did this one actually yesterday. Take a look, please, at example 5, and go back and look at your foldable. We talked about factoring by grouping. There's 2 examples for sure inside, underneath your tab there for factoring by grouping. That was, as far as I know, new for this year for you guys. It's really just a GCF 3 times. Go back and look at that example, and we'll wait to see, maybe we can get 4 or 5 lists that can help us with what our first step would be on example 5. Take a look at what we did. By the way, we did a factor by grouping together, correct? Okay. So go back and look, see what you wrote down, and see how it compares. We want to try to start this one off. Take a look. See, got a leader or an attempt. We got 2 of us, 3, 4. See, what's great is if you've got something to always anchor yourself back to, the process starts getting real familiar. What do you want to say? What kind of B, positive or negative? Now, all that happened right now was the left side got factored and the right side got factored. They recognize there's no GCF for everything, but there is for those left and right halves. I'm still not done though. How many times do we have to do a GCF if it's a grouping? 3. How many have we done it already? Twice. Hands up, please, if you can tell me what our new third GCF is going to be.
Quantity A plus B, and then quantity X minus Y.
Careful. Now, you're not wrong. My question was, what's the GCF? What can you factor out from both halves of this binomial?
X minus Y.
Good. And now, what's left after you do that?
A plus B.
The reason I corrected him was because he gave the absolute correct answer. He just had them in the other order. I wanted us to recognize that it's not math magic. All you did was, I saw 2 GCFs that led me to a third one. That's it. That's all you did. It's not math magic. There's no wizards or anything involved. All you need to go through and do is see, there were 2 that I made. These matched up. That makes it a third one. Now, if you go in, actually try out example 6. Go through and do 6 right now on your own. Should be able to take out 3 from the first 2 and negative 8 from the second 2. You get a binomial GCF now of X minus Y. Do we have questions on that? Yes or no? Okay. All right. go through right now, please, and try out 7 on your own. How did we do on that? Easy or hard?
Easy.
Now, I'm going to tell you this. You are not bound by the order that the question is given to you. With adding, you can go through and change the order without changing the answer. With with multiplication, you can go through and change the order without changing the answer. As I try to do this next one out, for example, 8, when I look at it, I'd stop for a minute and go, I already know, look at the first 2 terms. Is there a GCF for the first 2 terms in 8? No. Is there a GCF for the second 2? No. There's P's and Q's there. There's really no GCFs anywhere to be found as it stands now. Think about what our main objective is. How could it doesn't work in this form. How could I rewrite this or rearrange it to make a factor by grouping happen or to make GCFs show up? As it is right now, this isn't helping us. We can rewrite it so it does. Who's got an idea? Wants to give it a try? Actually, in all honesty, I think any arrangement besides this one will work.
5p squared minus 10.
Okay, so let's try that first. We'll list out 5p squared minus 10, and then what comes after that?
Plus squared minus 2p squared.
Now, I love that arrangement. I can see easily. What's the GC? Is there a GCF for the first 2? Is there a GCF for the second 2? That's a great choice then. GCF for the first 2 would be a 5. Leaves me with p squared minus 2. Next one up, I can take out a q squared, which would leave me with p squared minus 2. From here, our GCF is p squared minus 2, and our remaining part is 5 plus q squared. Is that what we got? There we go. We need to be able to get that. These hopefully aren't that tough for us. One thing, now, I think for tonight, you can do, so as long as we're here, this part we'll give you guys for homework. Look in the other class. I think that really the only arrangement that can work for us for today. I go through on this and do 2 through 20, the evens. Now, and that'll be part of your homework. We're going to keep going on, though, beyond this. The more we can get done, the more we get done. Let's do another week. Take a look. Go to page 4 at the top where it says example 2. Hands up, please, when you can factor out example 2 at the top of page 4. Top left on page 4. Go through and do out example 2. Example 2 at the top of this page 4. Hands up, please, when you can tell me what answer you would go through and get. different kind of factoring than the ones we've done. You can check it. Folder, find the tab that it matches. See, oh, we want to do this. We have one person who can see. Two of us. Pretty quick. Three of us. Four. Should almost be deceptively simple. And there's almost continue. Four people.
And plus 7 is -1.
Now, that works to give you the 6. What's -7 and +1 give you though at the end? -7, right? What do we need? +7. Not wrong, but not for this question. +6 and +1 at the end means the last value multiplies to 6 in that set.
M minus 1 and then plus 7.
No, if we did M minus 1 and +7, the end value would be -7 still. Do this. Look at the example, like with your eyes on your paper, and then let your eyes wander perhaps 1/4 of an inch higher up and read what it says literally next to example 2. What's example 2 in factor 2?
We're going through the
Thank you. Oh, so what is it?
The prime on prime.
If only there was some sort of clue nearby, like literally writing it next to example 2. Does that break down? Remember at the beginning when I said they get you trained like dogs over at the middle school? You do factoring. You have no idea of what, sorry. Some of you have no idea of what you're doing, and it's like 1/3 of your year. They talk about it all the time. It's all it is breaking up a bunch of sums or addition and subtractions into multiplications. That's it. Does this one break down? No. You know that because it's a prime. Now, I'll tell you this. You know which one would be a nightmare to go through and try? Let's try 5. Now, why is 5 going to be awkward? We're not do it all the way, but why would 5 be awkward for us? And you're going to hate 5. You would love it if this started off with 97, but we don't. Why? Give me just one of them. We could do 6R and 2R. Or, what else could we do? Hands up, please, when you can give me another way we could start it. We could start it off with 12R and 1R. Or, how else could we start it? You could go through and do 3R and 4R. What are you glad to see at the end? You're happy to see it too. Why would you be happy to see it too? You'd be outraged if there was a 6 there. You'd be just as happy if there was an 11 at the end. Why?
Because it can only the only multiples are 2 and times 1.
Mm-hmm. What's that called?
Prime.
It's prime. You like primes. Primes, for some reason, coming up in school, they don't teach you to appreciate primes, like 3 and 5 are great. 7 is wonderful. 4 is a disaster to work with in computations. 12 is an absolute nightmare because there's so many factors of it. You don't want things that have a ton of factors when you're doing factoring. Now, I'll even tell you there's some of these that we should be able to burn through so fast. We got some different squares. Oh, go to page 7. Hands up when you can tell me what 1A is going to factor to. Hands up when you can tell me what 1A is going to factor down to. Not bad. I think you had one strikingly like this on your assessment. Outstanding. Now, we're all probably going to make a mistake here because we're too busy to do our sort of check down list and do the factorization in order. That's a difference of perfect squares. What is almost everyone going to screw up about B? Look at B. What are we going to mess up in B? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
They're not right, like 2 A's.
No, they won't. That's close though. Yeah,
We're
5.
gonna do 2A.
That comes up. We're missing something right in the beginning now. You see this, and it looks so perfect that you're missing something that you need to do sort of before that, because we'll show you if you don't do it, you get a problem at the end. What's the GCF? Perfect. Take out the 4 first. So when you take out the 4, can you tell me, please? You told us to take that 4 out. What's left when you take it out? Keep going. You can use your calcs if you want. What's 64 divided by 4? 16. But why am I overcome with joy to see 4 times a squared minus 16? A squared and 16 are perfect squares. Now you can break this up. You still need the 4 to come along for the ride. What's after the 4, though? Hands up when you can tell me that. We'll wait for 6 of us. What's got to come after the 4? We did our GCF. We're left with, this is 16. Sorry, the board is garbage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us.
That would be quantity of A plus 4 and quantity of A minus 4.
Outstanding. Yeah. Perfect. And by the way, I'm going to show you something right now. Some of you that wanted to factor that immediately as a GCF, you're not going to be wrong, but watch what happens. Somebody started, who can tell me what this is if you were to do difference of squares? I think you started this up. So it would start out with what?
2A.
So do 2A plus what?
8
And then?
would be 2A minus 8.
Now look at both of those. I'm not done when I look at those. Because even if you didn't see it in step 1, what should you see right here? It's not simplified enough. You can factor this. What can you take out of this set of parentheses? And 2. What can you take out of this set of parentheses? And what would you do to both of those 2's? What's happening with those 2's and these quantities? So wouldn't that give you 4 and then A plus 4, A minus, just like we had up there? By the way, look at E right now. Hands up, please, when you can tell me what you think E would initially break down into. Because E's another one, especially as enriched kids. We should be able to get this. Take a look. I just want the first factorization. Look at your notes if you need it. Slightly different, but not that much. What do we think this x squared minus 81? You want to give it a x to the 4th minus 81. What's that going to become?
X squared plus 9, x squared minus 9.
Now, I'm not walking away just yet. Why would I not walk away? And this is, again, you've got to be on all the time. Now, you could, but that doesn't break it up evenly, and you get a term in the middle. There you go. That x squared minus 9 is a difference of squares again. Who can tell me what you want to give as your final answer for E? List it up. What do we got for a final in E? There you go. You've got your questions for homework. Make sure, please, that we get those done. Make sure you know how to do them. Look at your foldable as much as you need to. You'll have an assessment waiting for you when you come back.
You do that,
2 through 20.
all right,
Yeah, I'd advise that for homework.
only the even numbers.
Yeah, just the evens is fine. But no, if you want to do the odds forever. All right? Your homework was 2 through 20 even. And you said if you wanted to do the odds, you could go through the... Thanks, guys. Sorry we ran late. Oh. Hang on. First day. Hang on, let me get you guys set up. Have a good day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. So this. Yeah, if you want, see me tomorrow. I'll give you a cord too, that you can use at home. Do you have any like USB? Guys? Okay, we'll get you plugged in and ready to go tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
All right?
Are we gonna have, like, when we do Saturday, are we gonna learn it about the
Not this, maybe later on, but probably not. Well, actually, you're in geo. Yes. There you are. When we do circles. Oh, they're not a space, hang on. There we go.
All right, see you tomorrow.
Yep, we'll see you later, guys. Guys, grab one of everything over on the side, please. Get going on there's one on there, assessment 0. So, no. Find your seats up front, guys, and grab one of each of these. Get going on assessment 0. No calc on that one, but they should be easy, hopefully easy.
Evan in my math class again.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Wait,
Everyone said.
every time. Oh my God.
Oh, you get very quick too.
Okay, let's go. We have 8 minutes left. Where do I sit? I sat in the front. Is that already here?
All right. Apparently we might have too much time. There's assessment 0 that you should have picked up when you came in. That's what you're working on right now. It's the same thing it says up on the board. We got 7.5 left. I make sure I was working quick. They're freshman algebra questions. You should be able to do them just fine. It's a white sheet. It says assessment 0 up at the top. Make sure, guys, you're in the right seats. Which one? Which one? Okay, so second up from the back. Not on this. Normally you can, and we'll go over, we'll get you calculators in about 5 minutes, but this one we'll have you do without. I picked one for you to do without. Yep, it's one that says assessment 0 at the top. Make sure, please, your name is on it. No calc for this, but I picked questions designed for you not to have a calculator. It's not supposed to be that. Sure, there's justification for your answers. Show out what you need to be low-level mathematics.
So I can alter it if I need.
A bit less than a minute left. Make sure, please, your answers are in the boxes on the right. Show out where they came from. All right. Make sure, please, your name is at the top, and what we need you to do is, after your name, please put a -3 after it, so we know which grouping you're with. So you guys are section 3. So go in after your name and just put a -3. That's what you kind of need to have on all your stuff when we go through and hand those in. Make sure, please, your answers are to the right, and let's please have you hand those guys up and over towards me right now. And trying to think, we'll actually need, have out, first, I guess, your expectation sheet. This one here. And don't open them up, but have your computers out over to the side, please. Thank you. So hand your assessments up and over. And please go through and have out your course expectation sheet and your computers on the side, your Chromebook. We'll start off.